In the vast cold expanse of space, Emily Parker stood alone, her eyes fixed on the distant horizon where her home colony once existed. The massive Zorn Galactic Dreadnought cast a long, dark shadow across the starry backdrop, a constant reminder of everything she had lost. Emily was a pilot, but not just any pilot. She was the last hope for humanity's resistance. Her hands, calloused from years of training, traced the control panels of her prototype fighter, the Phoenix. It was a small ship, nothing compared to the enormous alien vessel that had destroyed her world. But it held something more powerful than any weapon: hope. The hangar around her was silent, filled with memories of her fallen comrades. Photographs of her squadron were scattered across the walls, their smiling faces now just ghosts of the past. Emily remembered her father's words, spoken years ago when she first joined the space defense program. Never give up, even when the world seems dark. Her mother had died when she was young, leaving her father to raise her alone. He was a simple man, a mechanic who worked on spacecraft, who taught Emily everything she knew about machines and resilience. Every repair, every lesson had prepared her for this moment. The Phoenix interceptor hummed to life, its systems responding to Emily's touch. It was more than a machine. It was her companion, her last connection to home. She checked the navigation systems, the weapon configurations, and the communication arrays. Everything needed to be perfect. Outside the hangar window, the Zorn Dreadnought moved slowly, like a predator waiting to strike. Its massive frame was a testament to technological superiority, a ship that had crushed entire human settlements without mercy. But Emily saw something different. Where others saw an unbeatable enemy, she saw a complex system with weaknesses. Her training at the Earth Military Academy had taught her more than just how to fly. It had taught her to think differently, to see solutions where others saw only problems. The Zorn believed their computational systems made them invincible, but they had never encountered a human with nothing left to lose. Emily's fingers moved across the control panel, pulling up star charts and communication logs. She knew every detail of the Dreadnought's previous attacks, studying them like a scholar reading ancient texts. Each movement, each strategy was a puzzle waiting to be solved. The memories of her last mission played in her mind. The sudden attack, the screams of her fellow pilots, the explosions that tore through their fleet. She had been the only survivor, a fact that haunted her every waking moment. But survival was not just about staying alive. It was about fighting back. Her small quarters in the hangar told a story of preparation. Maps covered the walls, with intricate notes and calculations. Technical manuals were stacked neatly, their pages marked and annotated. A single photograph of her father sat on a small shelf, a reminder of why she continued to fight. The Phoenix's engine grew warmer, responding to her touch. It was more than a machine, it was a symbol of human resilience. Modified beyond its original design, the interceptor carried modifications that made it unlike any other spacecraft. Emily had spent months preparing, knowing that her next mission could change everything. Outside, the stars seemed to watch her, silent witnesses to the coming battle. The Zorn Dreadnought continued its slow, menacing movement, unaware that a single human pilot was about to challenge its supposed superiority. Emily took a deep breath. Her father had always told her that courage was not about being fearless, but about moving forward despite the fear. She thought about her lost colony, her fallen comrades, the future that had been stolen. This was more than a mission. This was a statement. As she prepared to launch, a sense of calm settled over her. The Phoenix was ready. She was ready. The universe was about to witness something extraordinary. The story of humanity's resistance was about to be written, one pilot at a time. The cold metal of the Phoenix's control panel felt familiar under Emily's hands. She studied the massive Zorn Dreadnought structure, her eyes tracing invisible lines of potential weakness. Years of tactical training from Earth's military academy flooded her mind, reminding her that every complex system had a vulnerability. Communication systems, crackled with intercepted alien transmissions. The Zorn believed themselves invincible, their computational networks processing millions of scenarios every second. But they had never encountered a human like Emily, unpredictable, adaptive, driven by emotion rather than pure logic. Her first strategic strike was calculated and precise. She targeted a small communication relay on the Dreadnought's outer edge, a point that seemed insignificant but was crucial to their coordinated defense. The Phoenix's modified quantum disruptors slipped through their defensive shields like a knife through water. The alien commanders would not understand her approach. Where they expected massive attacks, Emily delivered surgical precision. Each movement was a whisper, each strike a subtle challenge to their understanding of warfare. She was teaching them a lesson about human unpredictability. Emily remembered her father's workshop, where she learned that every machine had a heart, a central point that controlled its entire system. The Dreadnought was no different. Its massive frame might seem impenetrable, but she knew better. Machines, no matter how advanced, always had a weakness. Her mission logs were meticulously maintained. Every intercepted communication, every observed pattern was carefully recorded. She was building a comprehensive understanding of the Zorn's tactical approach. They relied on predictive algorithms, mathematical models that calculated potential outcomes within human precision. But humans were not machines. They could think beyond algorithms, feel beyond calculations. Emily represented that unpredictable element that the Zorn could not comprehend. Her smaller ship became a psychological weapon, a constant reminder that their computational superiority had limits. The Phoenix moved like a ghost through space, its advanced stealth systems making it nearly invisible to traditional scanning methods. Emily had spent months modifying the interceptor, understanding that survival meant being smarter, not just faster or more powerful. Her previous squadron had fallen because they followed traditional military tactics. They believed in overwhelming force, in direct confrontation. Emily understood that true strategy was about understanding your enemy's weakness and exploiting it systematically. The Zorn communication networks began showing signs of confusion. Her small calculated strikes were introducing chaos into their perfect system. They could not predict her next move because she herself did not know her exact strategy until the moment of execution. Each successful intervention sent a clear message. Humanity was not a defeated species waiting for extinction. They were adaptable, resilient, capable of challenging seemingly insurmountable odds. Emily was writing a new chapter of resistance, one strategic whisper at a time. Her personal loss fueled her mission. The destroyed colony, the fallen comrades, the stolen future, all of these became weapons more powerful than any physical instrument. Emotion transformed into strategic precision, pain converted into calculated resistance. The vast emptiness of space seemed to hold its breath. The massive Dreadnought, once considered an unbeatable force, now carried a seed of doubt. A single human pilot was challenging their entire technological superiority, introducing an element of uncertainty they had never encountered. Emily checked her systems, her breathing steady, her hands calm. She was no longer just fighting a war. She was proving a point about human potential. The Phoenix continued its dance through the darkness, a small but defiant spark against the overwhelming alien presence. As solar winds brushed against the interceptor's hull, Emily knew that her next move would be critical. The Zorn were learning, adapting. But so was she. This was more than a battle. This was a psychological war where human spirit would be tested against cold computational logic. The universe watched, silent and patient, as a single pilot continued her impossible mission, whispering strategic challenges into the vast, unforgiving darkness of space. The communication channels buzzed with alien confusion. Emily's continuous strategic interventions had begun to unsettle the Zorn commanders, their perfect computational networks struggling to comprehend her unpredictable tactics. Intercepted transmissions revealed their growing frustration. The Zorn had conquered numerous civilizations, their advanced technology crushing resistance in minutes. But this single human pilot was different. She moved like a ghost, striking with precision that defied their complex mathematical predictions. Emily understood psychological warfare better than most. Her modifications to the Phoenix went beyond technical improvements. She was creating a narrative of resistance. Each small strike was a message. Humanity would not be easily defeated. Where the Zorn expected patterns, she introduced chaos. Her father's old workshop lessons echoed in her mind. "Every system has a breaking point," he would say, working on complex spacecraft engines. Emily was proving those words true in the most extreme battlefield imaginable, deep space, against an alien force that had decimated entire human colonies. The Phoenix became more than a spacecraft. It was a symbol of human adaptability, a tiny vessel that challenged a massive technological monster. Emily's strategy wasn't about destroying the Dreadnought, it was about undermining its confidence, introducing doubt into its perfect computational world. She targeted communication relays, navigation systems, and power transfer nodes with surgical precision. Each intervention was carefully calculated to create maximum psychological impact. The Zorn began to second-guess their own systems, their unbreakable logic now fractured by human unpredictability. Communication logs showed increasing panic among the alien commanders. They had algorithms for every possible scenario, except one driven by pure human determination. Emily represented something their computational minds could not process: emotional resilience, unpredictable strategy, pure human spirit. Her small quarters in the abandoned space station told a story of preparation. Maps covered the walls, complex calculations intertwined with personal photographs. A picture of her father stood prominently, a reminder of why she continued to fight. Each strategic move was a tribute to everything she had lost. The Zorn struggled to understand her approach. Their entire civilization was built on mathematical precision, on predictive models that calculated outcomes with inhuman accuracy. But Emily moved beyond calculations. She was driven by something more powerful: human emotion, personal loss, unbreakable will. Her modified quantum disruptors did more than physical damage. They introduced a psychological element that the Zorn had never encountered. Each strike was a whisper, a challenge to their understanding of warfare. She was teaching them a lesson about the unpredictability of human spirit. Solar winds brushed against the Phoenix's hull as Emily plotted her next move. She wasn't just a pilot anymore. She had become a symbol of resistance, a single point of hope for a humanity that had been pushed to the brink of extinction. The Zorn might have superior technology, but she had something more powerful: motivation. The massive Dreadnought began showing signs of internal uncertainty. Its perfect systems were being challenged by a strategy that defied computational logic. Emily was fighting a war on two fronts: physical space and psychological territory. Each intervention was a blow not just to their technology, but to their belief in absolute superiority. Her previous squadron's loss fueled every decision. Those memories of destruction, of friends lost in a moment, transformed into a strategic weapon more powerful than any physical instrument. Pain became precision, loss became determination. The universe seemed to hold its breath. A single human pilot was rewriting the rules of engagement, proving that technology could never completely overcome human spirit. The Phoenix moved through space like a phantom, a constant reminder that resistance could come from the most unexpected places. Emily checked her systems, her hands steady, her mind clear. She was no longer just fighting a war, she was proving a point about human potential. The Zorn were learning a painful lesson: never underestimate the power of individual determination. As the stars watched silently, the psychological battle continued, one strategic whisper at a time. The internal channels of the massive Zorn Dreadnought stretched like a complex technological maze. Emily's modified Phoenix moved with impossible precision, sliding through narrow passages that no conventional spacecraft could navigate. Her hands remained steady, each movement calculated with surgical accuracy. Years of training had prepared her for this moment. The quantum disruption device sat carefully secured in the specialized compartment, her last chance to turn the tide of an impossible war. Every breath felt measured, every heartbeat a calculated rhythm of concentration. Communication systems were dead silent. Emily knew the risks of her mission were beyond extraordinary. The Dreadnought's internal structure was a nightmare of intersecting pathways, quantum-reinforced corridors that shifted and changed like living organisms. Her small interceptor was pushing technological boundaries with each passing moment. Her father's lessons echoed in her mind. Sometimes, he would say, the smallest tool can break the most complex machine. Emily was proving those words true in the most extreme environment possible. The Phoenix wasn't just a spacecraft. It was a symbol of human ingenuity. Navigation became an art form. Quantum sensors displayed impossible readings, showing pathways that defied traditional understanding. Emily moved through channels narrower than her spacecraft's wingspan, her intuition guiding her where mathematical calculations would have failed. The Zorn's technological marvel was about to meet its greatest challenge. Their belief in computational perfection was about to be shattered by human determination. Each meter of progression was a statement. Humanity would not be easily conquered. Specialized sensors picked up the Dreadnought's internal energy signatures. Emily understood that her mission was more than a military operation. It was a psychological statement, a declaration that human spirit could challenge technological superiority. Her modified quantum disruptors were unlike anything the Zorn had encountered. Developed in secret research facilities on the last remaining human outposts, these devices could introduce cascading system failures in ways their computational models could not predict. The internal structure of the Dreadnought seemed to breathe, technological arteries pulsing with alien energy. Emily's Phoenix moved like a ghost, almost becoming one with the massive vessel's internal systems. She was no longer just a pilot. She had become an infiltrator, a single point of hope for an entire species. Memories of her lost colony fueled every decision. The faces of fallen comrades, the destruction of her home, all of these transformed into pure, focused determination. Each movement was a tribute to those who had been lost, a promise of resistance. Quantum interference began to build. Emily's specialized systems were introducing subtle disruptions, creating microscopic failures in the Dreadnought's perfect network. Where the Zorn expected total control, she was creating controlled chaos. Her breathing remained steady. Years of psychological training had prepared her for this moment of extreme tension. The Phoenix responded to her slightest touch, a perfect extension of her will. They were no longer separate. Pilot and spacecraft had become a single entity of resistance. The heart of the alien vessel was within reach. Emily understood that her next moves would determine the fate of her entire species. This was more than a mission. It was humanity's last hope. Quantum sensors flickered with impossible readings. The Dreadnought's internal systems began showing signs of confusion. Emily had become more than a pilot. She was a living disruption, a human algorithm that defied computational understanding. Solar winds seemed to hold their breath outside. The vast emptiness of space watched silently as a single human pilot prepared to challenge an seemingly invincible technological monster. Each moment was a testament to human potential, to the power of individual determination. Emily checked her final systems. The quantum disruption device was primed, ready to introduce a cascade of failures that would challenge everything the Zorn believed about technological superiority. Her hands were steady, her mind clear. The universe seemed to pause, waiting for a single moment that would change everything. The massive Zorn Dreadnought began to tremble, its perfect technological systems suddenly vulnerable. Emily's quantum disruption sequence triggered a cascading failure that no computational model could have predicted. Her small Phoenix interceptor became the instrument of humanity's most impossible victory. Communication channels across the galaxy suddenly erupted with a single broadcast. Emily's voice, clear and determined, cut through the technological noise. "We are not defeated, we are resilient, we are human." The vessel's enormous structure started to fragment, massive sections breaking apart like glass, touched by a precise hammer. Years of alien technological superiority crumbled under the weight of a single human's determination. Emily had become more than a pilot. She was now a legend. Memories of her lost colony, her fallen comrades, her destroyed home, all of these transformed into pure, focused energy. Each system failure was a tribute to those who had been destroyed, a promise of resistance that echoed through the vast emptiness of space. Her father's old workshop lessons came flooding back. Sometimes, he would say, the smallest tool can break the most complex machine. Emily had proven those words true in the most extraordinary way possible. The Phoenix was no longer just a spacecraft. It was a symbol of human potential. The Zorn commanders watched in shock as their perfect computational networks collapsed. They had conquered countless civilizations, destroyed entire worlds with mathematical precision. But they had never encountered a human driven by pure, emotional determination. Solar winds seemed to celebrate around the disintegrating dreadnought. Emily's modifications to the quantum disruption device had introduced a failure sequence that went beyond technological understanding. She had weaponized human unpredictability, turning emotion into the most powerful strategic tool. Her communication systems began broadcasting a message of hope, not just to the remaining human resistance, but to every civilized species watching. This was more than a battle. This was a statement about the power of individual spirit. The Phoenix moved gracefully through the fragments of the dying vessel. Emily remained calm, her hands steady on the control systems. She understood that this moment was bigger than her personal survival. She was writing a new chapter of human resistance. Fragments of the dreadnought drifted slowly, beautiful, and terrible in their destruction. Each piece represented a system that had believed itself unbreakable. Emily had proven that no technology could overcome human determination. Her modified quantum sensors tracked the complete system collapse. What the Zorn believed was an impossible victory had become their most devastating defeat. A single human pilot had challenged an entire technological civilization and won. The last remaining communication networks of the dreadnought carried her final message. Not a message of violence or destruction, but of hope. Humanity survives, she said simply. We adapt. We resist. Stars seemed to shine brighter as the massive vessel continued its slow disintegration. Emily's mission had transformed from a personal quest for survival to a universal symbol of resistance. She had become more than a pilot. She was now a beacon of hope for an entire species. The Phoenix's systems began to stabilize, having survived the most impossible mission in human history. Emily checked her navigation, her breathing steady. She was alive. She had succeeded where everyone believed failure was certain. Memories of her lost squadron, her destroyed colony, her fallen comrades, all of these became a powerful testament to human resilience. Each moment of her journey had led to this singular triumph. The Zorn had believed humanity was defeated. They were wrong. Communication networks across human settlements began to receive her broadcast. A single pilot had changed the course of an entire war. Emily represented something the Zorn could never understand, the power of individual human spirit. The vast emptiness of space watched silently. A new chapter of human resistance had been written, not with massive weapons or overwhelming force, but with determination, intelligence, and an unbreakable will to survive. Emily Rodriguez, the last pilot, had become a legend. Her journey was more than a military victory. It was a testament to the human spirit, resilient, unpredictable, and ultimately unbreakable.